Hi folks, Joben here. A little while ago, well, actually quite a while ago, my buddy Pavlov tagged me to do a video about my dream knife. And at the time, I pretty much knew what it was going to be about. It was going to be about a knife that I was actually getting. You know, dream come true. But when I couldn't get around to making the video, when I first got the knife, I figured I might as well wait a little longer and just roll this into my review of the knife. So here it is, my dream knife, zero tolerance 350. I love this thing. It's just great. Now, is it perfect? No. But the flaws are small. Let's talk about all the flaws and odd stuff first, so we can get on to the fun stuff later. And I can just chat about that. Things I don't quite like. The pocket clip's a little tight. It just could be a little easier to get on, but it's not really a huge deal at all. Blanking out. The lanyard hole is really small. You can see that there? I don't know what they were thinking you would put through there. Too small for 550. Might be able to get one gutted strand through, but that's about it. There is a tiny bit of side-to-side play, but well, I'm not sure why. That seems to be kind of par for the course for assisted openers. I could tighten it down a tiny bit more and get rid of most of it, but that would slow the opening down a little bit. Overall, not a problem. And lastly, the polishing job on the liners, they're done in sort of a satin finish, could be better. There's some slight ripples and tool marks visible around the perimeter of the knife. That tends to bug me when I see that. A knife like this isn't really a showpiece, but for this price bracket, you know, maybe it would have been nice to see a little more attention to that kind of detail. But now, on to the good stuff. Why did I buy this? Why do I love it? Why is it now one of my favorite knives? Whew, well, where to start? Well, I kind of looked off and on at zero tolerance for a while, and they looked interesting. But I didn't really start wanting one, and this is kind of silly, till, if anybody watches the show NCIS, in the last season, Gibbs and Tony have ZT 300s, and that kind of made me want one. Silly, I see it on TV, so I want it. I don't know, but I did. It looked really cool. It looked like a great knife. There were a couple of reasons I didn't get that one. One was, frankly, price. That is like a $230 knife. That is a lot of money. A lot of money. Particularly for me. You know, I'm self-employed, trying to start my own business, get that rolling. And the other thing was the weight. That's like a 8+ ounce knife. That's really heavy. Now the 350, it's a little bit smaller in dimensions. Instead of having like a 3 3/4 inch blade, it has a 3 1/4 inch blade. And it's still a little bit heavy, but not bad at about 6 ounces. This is designed by Ken Onion, which, if you're familiar with his work, you might have been able to tell without even me having to tell you. It's a very interesting, very organic looking design. There is not a straight edge anywhere on this knife. Everything is a curve. Curve, swoop, curve, 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 dip. Everything. It's a really interesting looking design, and there's actually a lot of practicality behind it. It's not all for looks. The blade shape is very interesting. Starting with the tip, it's not an extremely acute tip. If we look at it next to my Spyderco Mannix, one of my other favorite folders, you can see there's sort of a different philosophy going on here. On the Mannix, they go for a very acute, very pointy, needle-sharp tip. On the 350, they went for a little bit more meat behind it, and also to get more belly on the blade, more curve. Whereas the Mannix, it's not a straight edge, but it's a much more gentle, progressive curve, whereas the 350 has a real swoop to it. Now, there is a slight recurve. I know some people hate those. I personally don't. Generally, the people who don't like them are the ones who do their sharpening on flat bench stones. I use my Spyderco Sharp Maker, and it, that or any other crock stick or ceramic rod type system will be able to handle a slight recurve like this with absolutely no problem. Now, on top of the blade, there is this swoop down here, which I really like because you can put a thumb really far forward to do cuts like that. And it's just really nice. There's this flattened out area scooped out of the top of the blade there. But of course, your more standard grip is going to be back here with your thumb on the thumb ramp. And this is amazingly comfortable. Really, this is one of the most comfortable knives I have by far. Now, you will notice there's this deep recess for your index finger, and then it kind of bows out. That bugged me, that bow out there, for maybe like the first 10 minutes, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but it's really not a problem. And like I said, this is one of the most comfortable knives I have. You can grip it really hard in the hammer grip, and it doesn't start pinching or get any hot spots until you're getting to the point where you're like literally white knuckle. So that is really, really nice. It's an extremely well designed handle. It also works reverse grip, and it's got jimping up here. Very cool. And speaking of the jimping, you'll notice it's not the little tiny sawtooth like Spyderco does and many other people do. It's more sort of scallops cut out of it, a lot like what Boker uses on some of their stuff, like little subclaw. And I actually kind of like this. It does provide more traction than just smoothness, but it doesn't bite into your hand as much as like the stuff on a Mannix 2 has. The Mannix 2 feels practically serrated. Your grip is awesome, but it's not always perfectly comfortable because of that. This is my first assisted opener knife, and overall I'm very pleased with it. It opens with a nice snap of authority, but if you want to be a little more discreet, you can open it slower. Basically by just letting your thumb drag on the blade. Now, the thumb studs are not the primary opening mechanism. It is, of course, a flipper, and that works great and ambidextrous. However, the thumb studs do work as an opening mechanism, and they're fairly easy to do if you're a righty. Perhaps one flaw I sort of forgot to mention earlier is if you're a lefty and want to use the thumb stud, look how close it is to the edge of the body of the knife. It's really hard to get your thumb down in there. It's doable, but it's not fast or comfortable. But again, flipper. So that's a minor problem. Very, very minor. And might have gotten sidetracked in my own sentence where I was going with that. They are thumb studs, but they primarily serve as the blade stop. They go up and they meet up exactly with the liners in the frame of the knife and stops the blade. Really very nice. The tolerances here are very tight. If you notice here, there's the jimping, and as you open it, it meshes perfectly with the jimping there. Just beautiful. Really great. The pocket clip is 4-way adjustable. I'm carrying mine right hand side tip up, because that's how I like most of my knives. And also seems a little more prudent with an assisted opener. If I was carrying it right hand side tip down and this got bumped in my pocket, then it could swing open and be open in my right front pocket. That sounds kind of dangerous. But tip down, it'll be up against the seam of the pocket, and even if the mechanism gets tripped, it's not going to open very far. That just seems a little safer. One slight oddity about the pocket clip: 4-way adjustable, as I said. The tip-up screws are in the same position on the left and right hand side, but the tip-down screws for right hand tip down, they're right here over the pivot bolt, and for left hand tip down, they are much farther up. Now that seems to be so it doesn't block access to the pivot adjustment. A little weird. If that position's fine, why didn't they just put it like that on the other side, so you had the option of a pretty deep carry clip? It just seems a little odd to me that they didn't make it symmetrical. It's not the same on both sides. Why? I don't know. So yeah, that's a little odd. Now, this is a liner lock. I know some people do not like liner locks. They don't trust them, think they're unsafe. I really don't have a problem with them, particularly on an EDC type knife. Now this is more of a sort of hard-use tactical type folder, so why am I okay with it being a liner lock? Well, because this is really a heck of a thick liner lock. I mean, look at this. Honestly, I have frame locks that are thinner than these liners. And if you're going to get a liner lock like that, I actually prefer it to a frame lock. Why? Because I like having scales, be it G10, micarta, whatever, on both sides of the knife. See, if you go to a frame lock build, you end up with something like this, where it's metal on one side, and you've got your textured scale material on the other. That's okay, but I don't love it. Given an option, and this was another slight perk for me of the 350 over the 300 series, is that one I believe is a frame lock, titanium frame lock, and it's G10 on only one side. 350, G10, both sides. So, this is very definitely one of my favorite knives now, and I've been talking about it for 13.5 minutes, which is ridiculous. If you guys stuck through this all the way, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed it. 350, one of my dream knives, dream fulfilled. One of my all-time favorite knives at the moment, definitely one of my favorite folders. This and the Manix 2, very proud to own both of these knives. They're fairly pricey, at about $100, but if you can afford knives like this, they're awesome. They really are. So, hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you later.